Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Rusty's Metals, Precious Metals Hub. Gonna do a little review of Elijah Johnson's interview with Jim Willie a few days ago. Explosive Part 1. Still waiting for Part 2, but I'm sure it's just as exciting. Elijah Johnson's financeandliberty.com. Nearly 15,000 views in a few days. Titled "We've Lost Our Government, Banking Cabal in Charge" by Jim Willie. Something interesting he said during the interview. We're watching a systemic breakdown and I think the death of a nation. Jim Willie's so funny. Even on his website, see the long list of correct forecasts in the public area. I guess recently he's gotten a lot of crap for making a couple or maybe even one prediction wrong, and he had hell to pay for that, I guess. So now he's being funny and putting it back at him that a lot of the stuff that he does is right. So Jim Willie 2014. This is the goldenjackass.com where the hat trick letter is produced. Um, who is Jim Willie, the Golden Jackass? Where does Jim Willie get his information from? Answer: Jim Willie lives in South America somewhere. He won't tell us where. We don't know what he looks like. And he gets his information from what he calls the voice. And that's all you get. Jim Willie is full of information, theories, hypotheses, and opinions. And more often than not, he's right. The thing is about Jim Willie is he knows what's going on. The Golden Jackass publishes the hat trick letter, and you have to be a member to get it. I personally am not a member, but I'm afraid if I was, that there would be no way to read through the whole thing, because I hear that is a tremendous amount of information. The interview with Elijah Johnson, May 29, 2014, Part 1, has also 192 comments, only one thumbs down. Just a little synopsis of the interview. Jim Willie explains the death of a nation and how only 10% of Americans actually know what's going on. And it explains that we have to get to a critical mass of about 50% to be able to get rid of these bankers. So we have a long way to go, which really sucks, because they really are doing a number on every single one of us, and people just cannot give a crap. It's amazing. The brainwashing continues. I was having a conversation last night with somebody that obviously listened to Fox all night long. Absolutely no clue what's going on. No idea that she is being lied to constantly with disinformation, only given part of the information, and somehow made to feel good about this information, and I just can't understand. But all I can say is that conversation didn't go on for too long. Jim Willie in the interview goes on to say he just basically goes over a little history of the financial collapse. During 2008 financial crisis, Lehman Brothers collapsed, and Jim Willie says that they were actually targeted. Lehman Brothers was actually targeted by the banking cabal. and dismantled. He goes through a little history since the collapse in 2008 and how the banking cabal, he calls them the banking cabal, I call them the banksters, money junkies, like Mike Rivero. But he goes on to say that, you know, these banksters took out a credit card basically for $23 trillion, and it's money that we the people have to pay interest on. And it's obvious to Jim Willie because he explains it as the death of a nation, because the banksters could have solved the problem by defaulting on all of that, all of those banks that made those risky bets, and we could have started healing. But they didn't want to do that, and it's obvious to Jim Willie. It's obvious to me too. But during the audit of the Federal Reserve, the partial audit and efforts from Ron Paul, we find out that the banksters took out basically a credit card for $23 trillion, and what I like to call a blank check. Because remember they said it was 700 billion that they needed. Whatever. They lie to us constantly, and it's obvious they don't want to fix the country because there's easy steps to go through to fix the problems, and Jim Willie explains a little bit that it's obvious that the banksters don't want to fix it because, you know, they just went ahead and took out a credit card during a collapse, and it's just horrendous. So, for sure, most of the public has no idea what's going on. For if they did, there would be a revolution tomorrow. I believe George Bush Sr. said something into that effect off camera. I think he was recorded on microphone saying that. Can't be for sure, but someone important said it. Someone on the inside. The tremendous amount of information in this interview is a must-watch and already has nearly 15,000 views. So make sure you watch it, listen. And finally, the BRICS nations are recruiting Argentina, and Jim Willie says that as soon as China depletes all the gold in the Western banking system from London bullion banks and the New York Fed, that they will create a currency backed by gold, most likely using Germany as a hub to facilitate the transactions, which would be very interesting. But it doesn't fare well for the dollar. It doesn't fare well to Americans. I don't know what to say, but it's pretty much coming to an end game here. The gold standard will be coming back. It will just take a while because the BRICS nations have not reached critical mass yet at 50%. But according to Jim Willie, the coalition of nations is at nearly 40. So, as the world wakes up, they will be selling the dollar, and it's already started. So, you better get prepared.